Welcome to Top Tier Countdowns. This is weird historical facts you probably didn't know. Number 1. Nikola Tesla had an irrational fear of pearls. While most of us have phobias about normal things like spiders or snakes, Tesla was known by many around him to despise jewelry, especially pearls. The sight of pearls would almost make him feel ill, and he would not speak to women he was seen wearing them. He's even said to have sent his secretary back home when one day she turned up at his workplace wearing pearls. Number 2. Napoleon was once defeated by a horde of bunnies. In 1807, Napoleon decided to hold a rabbit hunt to celebrate the end of the war between the French Empire and Imperial Russia. His chief of staff acquired over 3,000 rabbits from local farmers, enabling Napoleon and others in his party to have plenty of bunnies at their disposal. Instead of fleeing, the rabbits attacked Napoleon with an unspeakable frenzy, climbing up his legs and swarming him so much that he stumbled and fell. Realizing that this was not a fight he could win, Napoleon fled to his carriage. Humiliated and stunned by the events, Napoleon reportedly did not retain his composure until he was driven far out of range of the chaos. Number 3. Socrates thought reading was stupid. Socrates was a Greek philosopher who's often credited as the founder of Western philosophy, but he worried that the written word would create forgetfulness in learners' souls because they will not use their memories, they will trust to the external written characters and not remember of themselves. In other words, why would you need to learn anything if you could simply reference a scroll? In his opinion, it was far better to learn things the old-fashioned way, memorization and spoken discourse. Number 4. The death of the guillotine was more recent than you think. Although a punishment most widely associated with the bloody reign of terror period of the French Revolution, the guillotine was still used as a method of execution well into the 20th century. In fact, the last person to be executed by guillotine in France was Tunisian immigrant Hamida Djandoubi in September 1977, the same year that George Lucas's epic blockbuster film Star Wars was first shown on the big screen. Number 5. Count Dracula was inspired by a real person. The titular count was based on none other than history's own Vlad the Impaler. As the monarch of Wallachia, a Romanian region of Transylvania, Vlad soon made a fearsome reputation for himself by killing and impaling the still twitching bodies of his enemies on long sticks which he planted outside his castle. Author of Dracula, Bram Stoker, used his knowledge of history and his frightful imagination to dream up the terrifying character we know today. Number 6. A pig's execution. In 1386, a pig was sentenced to death in France. The pig had attacked a child who later died from their wounds. The pig was arrested, kept in a jail cell, and then sent to court where it stood trial for murder. Unbelievably, the swine was found guilty and later executed by hanging. Number 7. The vodka shortage in Russia. Russia ran out of vodka celebrating the end of World War II. When the long war ended, street parties engulfed the Soviet Union, some lasting for days. However, all of the nation's vodka reserves ran out a mere 22 hours after the partying started. Number 8. The fastest surgeon ever ended up causing a 300% mortality rate. Surgeon Robert Liston was considered the fastest knife in the West. He was a pioneer in speed surgery. When performing a battlefield amputation in front of a group of spectators, Liston cut through his patient's legs so quickly that he accidentally cut the fingers off the person who was helping him. One man who witnessed the surgery collapsed and died of a heart attack. Then Liston's patient and his assistant died of blood poisoning from their joint amputation, making him the only surgeon in history to have a 300% mortality rate. Number 9. The Miracle Man in Japan. One man survived both the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and then later Nagasaki. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was a 29-year-old naval engineer on a 3-month business trip to Hiroshima. He survived the atomic bomb on August 6, 1945, despite being less than 2 miles away from ground zero. On August 7th, he boarded a train back to his hometown of Nagasaki. On August 9th, while being with colleagues at an office building, another boom split the sound barrier. A flash of white light filled the sky. Yamaguchi emerged from the wreckage with only minor injuries on top of his current ones. He had survived 2 nuclear blasts in 2 days. Number 10. The Titanic shipwreck was foreseen. 14 years before the infamous Titanic disaster, author Morgan Robertson wrote the novella Futility. It was about the large unsinkable ship Titan hitting an iceberg in the northern Atlantic. What's even weirder is the Titanic and the fictional Titan both did not have enough lifeboats for the thousands of passengers on board. Coincidence? Number 11. Execution by elephant. In ancient Asia, death by elephant was a popular form of execution. They could be taught to slowly break bones, crush skulls, twist off limbs, or even execute people using large blades fitted to their tusks. In some parts of Asia, this method of execution was still popular up to the late 19th century. Number 12. A mammoth misconception. Contrary to the popular belief that mammoths died out 10,000 years ago, after the end of the Ice Age, small numbers of huge mammals survived in several locations for another 6,000 years or so. In fact, a population of woolly mammoths roamed Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean off Siberia as recently as 3,700 years ago, centuries after the construction of both the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge. Number 13. Jack the Ripper was still making headlines when Nintendo was founded. Most people know Nintendo as a leading light of late 20th century video game culture, producing hits like Super Mario Bros. To The Legend of Zelda. But the company was actually founded in Kyoto, Japan in 1889 to produce handmade Hanafuda playing cards. In England that same year, the notorious serial killer dubbed Jack the Ripper was still making newspaper headlines, the fifth murder attributed to Jack having been committed the previous November. Number 14. Clara the Rhino. Clara was an Indian rhinoceros who, at the age of 1 month, was adopted by Jan Albert Sichterman, an employee of the Dutch East India Company. Sichterman sold her to a Dutch aristocrat who brought her back with him to the Netherlands. Everyone became obsessed with her. Rhinomania swept over Europe. Clara, in a carriage drawn by 8 horses, travelled from country to country to meet her many fans. She was on tour for 17 years, and during that time, she inspired paintings, sculptures, clocks, and even a popular hairstyle. Women would use ribbons or feathers to mimic the shape of Clara's horn. Number 15. The Great Fire of London. Everyone knows the story of the Great Fire of London, but did you know that it only claimed 6 lives? The Great Fire of 1666 apparently traced its way to a baker's oven and caused massive damage across the city of London. However, despite destroying over 13,500 houses and displacing 80,000 people, it only claimed the lives of 6 unlucky Londoners. Number 16. Cleopatra's reign was closer to the moon landings than the Great Pyramids being built. The Egyptian royal reign from 51 BC to 30 BC, roughly 2,500 years after the Great Pyramid of Giza was built, and roughly 2,000 years before the first lunar landings in 1969. This makes her 500 years closer to one giant leap for mankind. Number 17. The Voynich Manuscript. An ancient text called the Voynich Manuscript still baffles scientists. Handwritten in an unknown language, the Voynich Manuscript has been carbon dated to roughly 1404 to 1438. Hundreds of cryptographers and master code breakers have tried to decipher it over the years, with no one succeeding in grasping its meaning or origin. Number 18. Yo Mama. Shakespeare originated the Yo Mama joke. In his play Titus Andronicus, one of the characters Chiron exclaims, "Thou hast undone our mother," to which another character hastily replies, "Villain, I have done thy mother." This is not all Shakespeare is known for coining, as he also coined the term green-eyed to describe jealousy in his play The Merchant of Venice, as well as other words such as bandit, dwindle, lackluster, swagger, uncomfortable, and many, many more. Number 19. Charles Darwin invented his own wheeled office chair. The famous researcher found that in his study area, he would have to go through the rigmarole of walking about the office from bench to bench and desk to desk. So to maximize his productivity and save him some valuable study time, he decided to attach wheels to his luxurious armchair. That sounds like a really excellent idea. I'll show myself out. Before I tell you our 20th and most shocking fact today, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Number 20. Adolf Hitler helped to design the Volkswagen Beetle. Between Hitler and Ferdinand Porsche, the iconic bug-like car was designed as part of a Hitler-revived German initiative to create an affordable and practical car that everyone could own. Porsche was the genius engineer, Hitler was the sly politician behind the curtain. Hitler, who did not have a driver's license, personally approved the prototype of his Volkswagen on December 29, 1935. Not much more than 2 years later, on May 26, 1938, the cornerstone was laid for the Volkswagen factory in Wolfsburg, with the Führer in attendance. However, the success of the small car for the people didn't start until after the war. It was rebranded as the Beetle to distance it from its Nazi history. If you liked this video, why not check out one of our other videos?